This week on the Notorious Scoundrels podcast.
Yeah. Move, aim, shoot.
Oh.
Turns out that's like really powerful.
Oh, my friend. Oh, Death Troopers. The magic just keeps going, man.
Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a podcast focused on tactics and competitive play for Star Wars Legion. Hosted by Kyle Dornbos, Michael Barry, and David Zelenka, with Jay Shalansky, the man behind the glass.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and David. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Just hanging out. It's what we do these days, I guess.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's getting a little scary out there with the shelter-in-place orders coming down, but hey, if you had the painting to catch up on, that was a great time to start.
Yeah, catch up on some painting, do some binge watching of Rebels and Clone Wars if you haven't seen those. The new Clone Wars season is awesome. Would highly recommend.
Yeah.
No spoilers, man. I haven't watched any of it yet.
Are you serious? What are you doing, man?
I am, frankly, I have other shows that I am catching up on that I am too embarrassed to admit that I haven't seen yet.
The Bachelor?
No, I've been watching Parks and Rec.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
Normally I would rag on you for this, but I have not actually watched it yet either, which is sad. But hey,
so since when does Kyle watch anything before us?
I don't actually even know what that is. So,
well, there you go.
I don't get television. Anyway,
it's Clone Wars though. Apparently,
well, I have Disney Plus because Mandalorian, obviously.
This is the way. It's totally the way. It is all the ways, all together, all at the same time.
Yeah. All right. So, why don't we get into the news?
Yeah.
Welcome to In the News.
So the biggest news item, at least as it relates to Legion specifically, is that Adepticon is canceled.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot can happen in a week. Things with the coronavirus are changing very quickly. Our country has a lot more important things to worry about right now than Adepticon. Was one of many large events that have been affected by coronavirus and one of many things in general, obviously. But this is a podcast about Legion, and as Legion players, of course, we were, very excited about this convention and more specifically about Legion Worlds. Lots of other people, playing lots of other minis games. We're also very excited about Adepticon, but it has been canceled. So, we're disappointed, but certainly understand the need for that given the current circumstances and environment. So hopefully everyone is staying safe and healthy and catching up on your painting and binge watching and everything. The important thing here as it relates to Legion is that FFG put out, I believe it was a tweet basically that from FFG OP that said that they're looking at options for not only Legion's Worlds, but also Armada and Imperial Assault, which were supposed to be at Adepticon. So obviously we don't know exactly what, quote unquote, looking at options means. But it sounds like they are trying to figure out when and if they can reschedule those instead of just canceling them outright. So it's just, of course, speculation on our part that they're going to be able to do that. But it's pretty clear, at least to me, that they're not just straight canceling them, and that it's possible that some other time, somewhere else, before Adepticon next year, we will get an actual 2020 Legion Worlds. And maybe the AAT will be out by then.
Yeah. I mean,
You just
who is
laid
it?
it in there,
Who was it that said, I don't know who it was that read this, but they're like, maybe Matt Holland is breathing a sigh of relief that he doesn't have to put, however many saber tanks together
Yeah.
himself to
Is
give to people who were like, let's, I'm going to use the saber tank, Matt.
AAT.
The AAT. Sorry, AAT. Sorry, not the
Yeah.
saber.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's, we've been talking a lot about the pre-Worlds meta. Of course, all of that is kind of irrelevant now because
Yeah, that's kind of gone out the window.
when and if we get actual Worlds 2020, there's going to be a totally different slate of units and things that are legal, including potentially.
I mean, short troopers and tauntauns are still going to dominate everything, right?
I mean, they're not getting worse.
They're not getting worse. That's a great way to put it.
With vital assets potentially. I mean, assuming everything doesn't get delayed, which I guess is also possible. If we get vital assets before then, that's a pretty significant boon to tauntauns specifically. So, but
Ooh,
yeah. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Tauntauns can't pick up a hostage, can they? Which doesn't make sense to me. How do you not just sling them on the back of the tauntaun and just run away?
I mean, they can run over the unit escorting the hostage.
Oh, that's true.
Opponent. They're also pretty good at carrying bombs.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Anyway, this is not we're not gonna talk about vital assets today.
Yeah.
That is a long way of saying whenever and wherever the next major tournament is, whether that's Worlds or some other tournament, the meta is going to likely look at least slightly different from the one that we've been talking about. So we're going to focus in the intervening time period on units and strategies and other stuff. Luckily, we've had a slew of new hotness. You guys talked about Cassian last week
at length.
I'm jealous. He is my. I mean, you guys know how much I love snipers, and he is that, but in character form. And I also love K2. So, he might be my new boyfriend. We'll see. I'm sad that I wasn't here to talk about him. Have
you told Bosk yet?
No, I'm just gonna continue seeing both of them, and hopefully they won't notice.
Wow, 2 times.
Meanwhile, Palpatine's out here like, what?
Oh yeah, yeah. I want to. Can I be 4 different players at once?
It's okay. So in this example, Palpatine's your sugar daddy.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. That works.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like his pool boy.
Yeah.
Side piece. All right. Anyway, we are going to talk today about Iden Versio because we got a full preview article for her, and I know that she is your fave, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. She's absolutely incredible.
So we're going to talk
about that right now.
Or no. Let's do our 101 section because with Cassian and Iden both, there's a new rule, Covert Ops, that we should talk about. I'm sure you talked about it last week a little bit. But we also haven't talked about infiltrate and how to infiltrate and where to infiltrate and when to infiltrate, things like that in probably about a year, because that's about how long it's been since Pathfinders and Jin came out. So we're going to do a refresher on infiltrating 101 in our Legion 101 section.
It's time for Legion 101. Class is in session.
All right, so you guys want to talk about this covert ops keyword first?
Sure. So covert ops is a new keyword that was introduced with this wave, and basically the rule says that you can take a commander unit and choose to, the text says, forego their command position to infiltrate onto the battlefield as an operative. So when you deploy, you can treat the rank of this commander as an operative instead to gain infiltrate. That's kind of the big overarching theme.
Yeah, so, I mean, clearly the main benefit of this is the infiltrate keyword that you gain. there's a variety of things that kind of happen as a kind of like auxiliary things. So as you mentioned, you lose commander rank, which is a big deal or it's not a big deal, I think, depending on who you are. Iden is the first Courage 3 Imperial hero that is a commander. And her courage bubble is a pretty big deal because of that. So giving that up is a really big cost. Conversely, Cassian has courage 2, which is kind of a dime a dozen. So giving up courage 2 with Cassian, not so big a cost. It's also worth noting that if you are kind of downgrading to an operative and there's not another commander in your list, you can promote another unit, I think that is non-operative. Is it just non-operative?
It's got to be a special forces or a core unit.
Special forces or core unit. So in most lists, you're going to have a special forces unit with a courage of 2 hanging around minimally. So it's pretty easy to preserve that courage of 2 when Cassian downgrades. Again, when Iden downgrades, you lose 1. So I think it's a little bit better for Rebels. Ish.
Yeah.
The cost is lower for Rebels.
I think it's also notable that you can, like, say you bring Cassian K2 R2 or Cassian K2 Operative Luke, you can transform all of your character orders into operatives so that you don't have to split your characters between commander and the operative slot, which I think is interesting. You can like throw 3 operatives in the bag and it can be any one of them, as opposed to some of the other kind of combo-y things with like Iden.
Are you able to break force limit with this card?
Yes, because the limitations only apply during list building. So
wow, okay.
By that you mean you could have 2 operatives, so you have like R2D2 and K2, and then Cassian as your commander.
Right.
If you use Covert Ops with Cassian,
then you have 3 operatives.
Right.
Which gives you a little bit more flexibility when playing cards like Assault or something. Like you could conceivably like put it on 3 special forces and have a like decent chance at drawing an operative out of the bag when you want it,
right?
And having it hit the right thing. Now, how often are you going to do that? You're probably still putting your orders on your characters, just because that's sort of the nature of the game in a lot of respects. With that being said, it's an additional option that presents to you that kind of Cassian kind of falls into. I think Iden's a lot less likely to fall into that place generally.
Yeah, because you're generally not going to be running her with more operatives.
Yeah, I mean, like Iden double operative is a lot of points.
Yep.
Yeah,
it adds up quickly. And Imperial lists really need a lot of their points kind of in their core right now. So
yeah, I mean they have some of the strongest cores in the game.
But on the other hand, like Cassian K2 R2, Luke Skywalker is like a perfectly good basis for a list.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah, so good.
There's like 4. All 4 of them are threatening in their own way.
Yep.
And they're all relatively cheap enough to fit a list that's going to get you to 11 potentially behind it.
Yep.
So a little bit of a tangent. Kyle, I know you weren't here last week, so I kind of wanted to talk about it. Does the Cassian K2 Luke R2 list kind of set the bar for Rebel lists at 11 activations?
What do you mean by set the bar? Like, is that sort of your template for an 11 activation Rebel list?
Like, does that kind of? I guess what I'm saying is that list gonna? Do you think that list is gonna be good enough that it sort of says, okay, this is kind of the jumping off point for where Rebels need to start from?
Sort of. I think that if you are running a Rebel list that does not include Tauntauns, that is your that is definitely your jumping off point. I think you could easily swap in. You'd have to cut R2 or K2 because of the operative limits, but you could easily swap Sabine in there. She's also great with Cassian's cards and run something similar. So yeah, I think for a non-Tauntaun build, I 100%, that's what I'm playing. And I'm not an anti-Tauntaun Rebel player, but a not Tauntaun Rebel player.
Whoa. There's a difference between those two things?
There is.
You are an anti-Tauntaun Rebel player. I'm sorry. That's
okay.
That's a cop-out.
Regardless, I do own Tauntauns for the record.
Yeah. He's not anti-Tauntaun. I don't think he's anti-Tauntaun.
They're not my playstyle. But what is my playstyle is Cassian and Luke in the same list together.
I like that.
Doing things. So yeah, to answer your question in short form, that is my favorite non-Tauntaun Rebel basis for a list, is those 4 characters you mentioned plus 3 snipers, and then whatever else you want to throw in there. It's real good. Cassian's cards are amazing with Luke, either version of Luke. K2's great, R2's great. It's rebel good stuff.
I want to take this tangent a little bit further.
Okay, and then we got to get back to Infiltrate.
We are going to get back to Infiltrate really soon, but I'm going to take this a little bit further. It is possible, however disgusting, that you can fit Leia, Cassian, 3 snipers, R2, and 3 Tauntauns into the same list. And I'm really curious about what that's going to do to the Rebel mirror. If the Cassian Leia combination is such a long range, and triple sniper is such a long range threat that you just bury one of your opponent's Tauntauns like as soon as possible, if they show them to you, that might actually break the mirror open a little bit. That actually might give leeway to other lists, especially like the double Tauns, or if they get hated out. But anyway, that's all speculative. But it's just the whole, like, you're looking for non-Tauntaun bases of lists. Well, I think a triple sniper Cassian Leia opening tour with a bombard plus all the other hate, whatever damage you do to the Tauns, you can sort of follow up with Cassian and 3 snipers and see if you can just burn one down immediately, as long as you don't get Limviz.
Yeah, you definitely would want to bid with that list, because if you get Limviz, you're totally hosed.
You kind of get hosed, yeah.
I could see that, though. I mean, No Time for Sorrows, I don't know if I actually did not listen to the cast last week, but I don't know if you guys talked about that with.
We didn't talk about Cassian. We didn't talk about it in any great depth, but you're right. No Time for Sorrows can get around the cumbersome restriction.
Well, and it triggers tactical.
Yes.
So both of that and Smokescreen. There are like a million ways to abuse tactical with Cassian. That's one of them. No Time for Sorrows and Smokescreen. Also, if you give him recon intel, he gets an aim from that at the start of the game. And of course, you can give him offensive push. You can give him offensive push to get another one off that recon intel move. And that gets around cumbersome. So if you give him recon intel, offensive push, and then play crack shot on your first turn with the aim action, you can have 4 aim tokens for that. So
I love how this episode started off. Oh, Mike, Iden's so good, but then we're just like Cassian.
Yeah, that's my favorite opening for Cassian, is to do the recon intel into offensive push, aim, and take crack shot, and have 4 aims for like a double tap with the sniper rifle.
Oh yeah.
And since he infiltrates, you can usually line up, like if you can line up your first shot as an open shot, then you're pretty much guaranteed to push 4 hits through.
Since he infiltrates. Okay, so that's an interesting point. Now, you do get to still recon when you infiltrate, right? Like we've been doing with with Vader and with Pathfinders.
Yep, totally.
So that's another thing if you take an infiltrating covert ops unit to put intel on them, because then they get an extra little boost.
Yep.
If you need to put them inside range 3 or something. Intel's
a little bit awkward, as long as we're talking about covert ops.
Yes, we are.
With loadout, every time I put it on there, I'm like, man, I wish there was something else to like kind of
pair it with.
Yeah, it's just like 2 points is not a great space. Like, I mean, I guess you could upgrade to 3 and like slap environmental gear on there. I mean, grappling hooks are bad, so definitely not that one.
Yeah, but it's such a good gear slot for both of those characters that I think, like, I don't know that you'd be swapping from Recon Intel to something else anyway. Like, I can't think of even if there were something else that were cheaper, I don't know what you'd swap to.
I mean, I think it's a lot better on Cassian than Iden.
Yeah, for sure. But it gives you that extra, roughly 4 inches, which is 2/3 of a range band, closer to your, whatever you're infiltrating next to near.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of, this is Infiltrator 101.
Yeah.
So, are there times with Iden or Cassian when you would not want to use Covert Ops? Like, just drop them as a commander in your deployment zone?
I actually think, for the most part, Iden doesn't use it.
Does not use Covert Ops.
Does not use Covert Ops. I think the extra 2 courage before panicking over Krennic and Veers is pretty big. Clearly, if you're like doing something crazy like running Iden Palpatine or Iden Vader, like, go ahead, do the thing. But I think it's a really big deal, especially in Imperial mirror matches with suppression tokens being everywhere. It just makes it a lot easier to handle generally. So I think giving up the courage bubble is, unless you're going to get a resultant effect that's really good, like slamming her immediately on a box at the beginning of Recover the Supplies and just grabbing it and dipping out, if you can manage it. She's very tanky. Like, I think she might be better at it than, dare I say, Sabine.
She's at least as good at it. She's not as fast as Sabine, and jump is a big deal in those situations, but
it is.
She's at least as hard to kill as Sabine when she has Dio.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
When she's got Dio, and if you play her 1 pip, she gets a free dodge token out of the deal, which we'll talk about. Which she gets to spend with Nimble. So, heavy cover plus a dodge token plus shields is like, that's a thing. So there are things to do there, but to kind of go back to the fundamental premise, I think unless you're doing something like that, where you're only covert opsing with her if you're like guaranteed to get value out of it. You're not just covert opsing because you have the keyword.
Before we, maybe I have a segment a little bit before we move on too much further from this. I know we're talking about Infiltrate, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the covert ops cost. That we kind of missed it on the way through here. So anytime you convert a unit with covert ops, right, you can't nominate them with non-operative specific command cards. So they can't you can't issue orders. So I just want to share this anecdote from a game I ran into. I made an error where I promoted a sniper, but I had a push in my hand, and I needed to. Things fell out where I had lost range on Sabine, and so of course I wanted to play push. And without range on Sabine, I can't give her an order with push because she is an operative still. So infiltrate. I'll tie this back in Infiltrate by saying, if you have neutrals in your command hand, you should really consider infiltrating beyond command range to be a problem if you want orders. If you're not playing operative specific cards, I
think that's a really good
play.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, I think the rebels generally are probably not. I mean, I guess if you're running like Cassian Sabine, I can see it come up. But if you're running like Cassian Commander Luke, you probably don't care.
I think I specifically see it with Cassian though, because Cassian is the kind of guy who, is probably going to infiltrate wherever his gun is best put, and that could be somewhere quite far from your initial place, especially if you flex his infinite range. It can isolate him a little bit, which is a drawback. But if his gun is placed the best place possible, you're going to use his infiltrate to do that. And I think what you've been saying about Iden is correct. I don't think you want to give up C3. That's my shorthand for Courage 3. As I say C3 or C2. So I don't think you want to give up C3 in your army, especially if she's alongside one of these characters, like say Krennic, who uses compel effects, it just ensures you even further from panic, to keep that C3 bubble on your army rather than give it up.
Yeah, I think one of the more dynamic choices with covert ops is actually deciding when you place them. You don't actually have to decide if they're infiltrating until you deploy them, which means you can wait until they're the last unit you deploy and then be like, okay, I'm covert opsing, right? Similarly with loadout, you get to choose at that juncture. And so I think there's an interesting decision point you have to make almost immediately, which is, do I want to covert ops with no information, or do I want to covert ops with total information? And the advantage of doing it early is that you have basically a large swath of the board to pick from, as opposed to if you do it late, infiltrate gets a lot worse, which is an interesting kind of dynamic to that. It's something I run into with Vader a lot of the time when I'm playing Darkness Descends. Going and setting up last with infiltrate is, it's good, but it's not like game breakingly infiltrate like Jin would be if she was a good piece,
Poor Jin.
Always
make it through this episode without talking about poor Jin. No, I get exactly what you mean. I personally, I prefer to wait as long as possible, unless there's like a very obvious spot that you want to drop them in. Because as you noted, it gives you more information about your opponent's deployment. But B, like holding them forces your opponent to continuously make difficult decisions, right? Like if they have, evaporator or a box or something that's kind of off away from like where it would normally be a good idea to put their main force, they have to think about how they're going to protect that box as long as you have that unit in reserves. And if they don't commit enough to it, then you can drop them over there. But if they do commit enough to it, then you can just drop them where you wanted to in the first place, and then they've got too many units, on the ass end of the table. So I like to sort of maintain that threat, the ambiguous, indeterminate threat by holding them. But certainly like there are situations like with Recover, if you're a blue player and you have an opportunity to, drop them straight on that center box, maybe you want to do that. Now there are ways also, particularly with Cassian, where you can hold him, you can sort of have your cake and eat it too, because if you give him recon intel, he gets a speed 1 move, and then K2 is a detachment to Cassian, so he then gets a speed 1 move from Cassian. So you can get pretty darn far with that, even starting range 3 away from the nearest enemy unit.
You can't see me, but I'm shaking my head.
It's all about getting K2 in range to use that blaster, right?
Oh man, that gun is so good. That pistol.
Yeah. A little double throw with recon detachment.
Yeah, he's Bosk basically.
Yeah, he's basically like short range Bosk.
It even has suppressive.
Think about what you just said. Basically, he's short range Bosk. That sounds horrible.
Well, it sounds horrible, except he's 40 less points.
Yeah, he's 80 points with the gun.
Man.
And Bosk
and he also
I'm trying to rain on your parade. Stop it.
I'm just saying. He also does other stuff. Like Bosk doesn't have teamwork with any other Imperial units. Cassian can give K2 gobs of free aims.
Heard it here first, folks. Bosk is overcosted.
That's not what I said.
That's what I heard.
Range 4. That's what I heard. K2 also doesn't have kick-ass command cards like Bosk.
More expensive than a Tauntaun.
K2
clearly should be cheaper.
Mortal wounds on Sabine, for lack of a better word.
Anyway, this episode is not about Bosk. Man, we're getting on all kinds of tangents in this infiltrate section.
We're having fun talking about Legion.
So the most important thing with infiltrate is to not get too ballsy and expose your expensive unit, and essentially like isolate them by putting them in an advanced position. You still want them in a spot where they can be supported by your main force, especially if you're dropping them early.
My general rule on this is if you have to think about whether it's too dangerous, the answer is you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, if you ever have a
Um,
doubt, just
Yep.
don't. Just don't subject yourself to that because you're probably going to get horribly punished.
There's been very few times where I'm like, I should do this ambitiously dangerous thing, and it's worked out. Now, I will say there's been a couple times where I've done it with Vader, and it's been like absolutely debilitating. But I find those times are few and far between.
Well, and Vader is a very different unit than Cassian or Iden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having force push and force choke and all of those other different like kind of tricksy things in your kit makes doing something like that a lot more reasonable. And they don't really have those things.
You mean on top of being a relentless murder machine?
Look, man.
The point is that Vader is he's also considerably more expensive, right? But he can take a flank by himself in some situations. Like Iden and Cassian, for the most part, can't do that. I mean, they can be a pain in the butt, but they're not going to just plow in there and kill a bunch of units like Vader's can.
No, they're much more. No. They're much more subtle.
Yeah,
they're not going to kill 3 heavies.
No, they're just going to bleed you with double crits. So they get to from a far distance.
Yep.
All of that is essentially to say, play it safe. Don't get too ambitious with infiltrate. If it's a casual game and you're like, or a testing game or whatever, I would encourage you to figure out what those limits are, because once you figure out where the line is, you get a lot better at it. But you don't know that until you've lost a lot of games to infiltrating pieces in the wrong places and the game is over on like turn 1 or 2.
I personally can't wait to see a Jin infiltrate box grab into turn 1 sacrifice with K2.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Well, so it's notable in that particular. Obviously, it gives them Guardian 4, which is great. But it's still a 3-pip, and you got to activate K2 before it works, right? So your opponent still gets. Well, the Guardian works the whole time, but the immune to ranged attack effect only works after you activate K2.
Yeah, you gotta have an
Guardian 4 Danger Sense Jin is
yeah. It's
play Rebellious and then up K2. Easy.
I mean, I hope with that combination you're gonna Recover is gonna be a near auto win with you.
Yeah.
There's a very short list of things that Jin is good at. That's one of them. I'm sorry, Jin. I love you.
If only she could hop in a land speeder with a box. That would be nuts.
Yeah, that'd be something. It'd be thematic.
Yeah, it would be.
Anyway.
It would also be thematic if Han could shoot from the driver's seat, but we won't get into that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I am totally in for that. I think that open top vehicle, and again, we're getting on tangents here, but can we have open top shooting out of vehicles? Why not?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
I think why not, man? Put that arsenal free to work.
If I'm gonna spend 300 plus points on a land speeder in Han, he better be able to shoot out of it.
Yeah.
Do some drive by, icing some dudes with that pistol.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Gunslinger.
I don't know.
Yep. All right. Any more thoughts on Infiltrate?
You mean on Covert
really
Ops?
Good.
No,
well,
on Covert Ops and then
Infiltrating.
onto that Infiltrate.
Yeah. I mean, let's just summarize, right? So, don't get too crazy, right? If you think it's wrong, it probably is. Just look for places that are going to be the most effective, and look for opportunities to do fun tricks like the detachment slingshot with K2 or with intel in close. But basically, just try to you're doing this deliberately so that you can put the infiltrating unit in the best place possible, especially if that place happens to be outside your deployment zone, and that can change. And Kyle, I just want to say I like what you said about the holding it as a threat. because I think your opponent's fear is sometimes their own worst enemy.
Oh yeah.
They kind of do the work for you when you hold it back and don't put it down immediately. But it works the other way too. If you put it down, the sooner you put it down, the more information your opponent has to work with. So you have to kind of try to strike a balance here and, you know, bluff a little bit and try to see what your opponent's up to before you commit.
I think to add on to that, I think my favorite time to sometimes it's right to not go first and not go last. The time to put them down is when they can't effectively respond to you infiltrating anymore, which is not always putting it down last. Sometimes it's earlier than that, and it allows you to kind of like put your snipers down last or something like that and still gain the benefits you were going to get anyway. That kind of goes for a lot of ranged pieces like Bosk and stuff in general. If you're going to put them there anyways and your opponent knows you're going to put them there, just do it.
Yep. Right. You're not gaining anything by waiting. If there's comes a time in deployment, that goes for basically any unit. It comes a time in deployment where it's like it's known that you're going to put a unit there.
Yep.
I often deploy when I play Palpatine. I often deploy him early for that reason because he's a commander and Palpatine lists like to keep nice and tight. So after the first few deployments, it's usually like extremely obvious where he's going to go. So I just put him down. Like he's the most important piece, but at some point there's only one place to put him.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the terrain can put you on rails.
Yeah.
And when I put you on rails, like it means it guides you directly to a certain end in terms of turn 0.
Yeah, and on that note, specifically with Cassian, because I think you're using Iden's sniper rifle a lot less than Cassian's. It's super tempting to, like, if you see like a giant tall tower on the map somewhere, just plop them in there, and maybe that's a great idea. But remember, if you can see everything, everything can see you. So yeah, just be careful. All right. Anything else on
Stay in school. Don't infiltrate Cassian on top of giant towers.
Yep. All right. How about we move on to actually talk about Iden?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Get ready for advanced tactics.
Mike, I'm going to start with you because she's like your, I don't know, your favorite Inferno Squad person.
Favorite Inferno Squad person. It's pretty awesome. So I feel like, first of all, if you haven't seen her card yet and stuff, there's an article up here called "Taking the Lead," which has full text spoilers. We've already talked. She's the first Courage 3 Imperial Commander, which is big. I hate Courage 2 Commanders. It's one of my least favorite things about Krennic Veer's generic officer lists is, I mean, panicking in those lists is a real concern. Generally, you come up against a mortar or two, and they can really kind of turn some of your units' days. And the Courage 3 is big. I think the big thing that we need to talk about when it comes to Iden is the role that she should likely be playing in your army, and I think that all starts with the weapon choice. So let's talk about her guns real quick. So her first gun, both of them are 15 points. She's got loadout, so she's gonna equip one at the beginning of the game, and you can pick which one you want when you deploy her. So you don't have to choose until you choose. With that being said, her sniper is 2 black dice, 1 to infinity, high velocity, and pierce 1. I think on its own, that's probably pretty good. I think in comparison to her TL50 repeater, which is range 1 to 3, 2 red dice, 1 black die, and 2 white dice, critical 1, impact 1, I sort of feel like, barring some weird circumstances, you're taking the repeater like 97% of the time.
I think the time you take the sniper is against like a clone castle standby situation.
I could see that. It's definitely the Pierce is certainly valuable, but the repeater is just so good alongside tactical strike, and also the fact that you get to add Dio's weapon into it a significant portion of the time. Like, it's not half the time, it's probably not 40% of the time, but I'd say like 20 to 25% of her attacks you get to throw 8 dice with the repeater, which is pretty good. So it turns into a 5 white, 1 black, 2 red, suppressive, critical 1, impact 1 pool, with marksman. That's a pretty epic attack. I would have to do the math real quick, but I mean,
it's good.
It's very good. I think the marksman keyword generally is a lot better with the sniper rifle, just because you can kind of convert everything into crits. But I do think that Iden is a leading from the front type hero. She does not really want to sit back and kind of watch things happen. A lot of her command cards, which I guess, should we just get into them, or do we want to keep on going over her unit card and stuff?
I mean, did we talk about the comparison in real terms between the damage that gets put out by the repeater? Because it's worthy to note that the repeater does not have pierce.
Yeah, for sure.
And it has impact. So I'm wondering, because this repeater averages about 3 1/8 in terms of hit results.
Well, it's a little hard with marksman to figure that. You have to sim it basically.
Yeah, because you can't just do simple math like I'm doing.
Right, but it has way stronger dice. Like if your target's at range 3, regardless of what type of save it has, you're going to be doing more damage with the repeater.
Right.
The thing that possibly makes the sniper rifle a better choice is probably that one situation, like with a clone standby castle, where actually getting to range 3 consistently and safely might be legitimately difficult.
Yeah.
And then maybe you just want to be able to sit back a little bit and kind of plink with that sniper rifle in that situation.
Right. And even better, against clones, because you're piercing their crazy save. Yeah. Right.
You can also peel the standbys that you normally would not be able to peel.
Right.
Yeah, because you have the extra flexibility.
That is a big deal. I do think that you're likely right that that's probably the one time that you do want to choose the sniper. But I do think that overall her command cards really want you to play her as an up in your face. I'm kind of dealing with you myself kind of commander.
Yeah, they're very aggressive.
Yeah, so let's get into her command cards, and then we can circle back on loadout choices, because I think, as you noted, the command cards directly relate to which weapon you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the best one and work down.
What's the best
So we're going in descending order of pips here, then?
Is that the best one?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So I want to start by last week we talked about Cassian, and a lot of Cassian's command cards were good, but they weren't specifically good for him. They were good for stuff he plays along with. They were fine with him, but I think a lot of Iden's cards they're just good for her. With the exception of, go ahead.
With the exception of the 3-pip, but
yeah, with the exception of the first one, which is the best one.
Yeah, but she plays more like an operative, like a true operative, than Cassian does, in that her command cards are mostly selfish.
Yeah, she hands out a lot less orders, except for her 3-pip, which makes up for that. So let's talk about it. 3-pip, Tactical Strike. It issues orders to Iden Versio and 3 trooper units. And it says, when Iden Versio or a friendly special forces unit that has a face-up order token activates, it may reduce its maximum speed to 1. If it does, it gains steady and tactical 1. So this card's awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you that may not be familiar, tactical 1 gives you an aim token each time you move, and steady allows you to shoot at the end of a movement. So you're kind of turning it into tauntauns where you get a bunch of free actions, which is awesome. So, I think everybody's mind probably immediately goes to Death Troopers. You know,
As it should.
yeah. Move, aim, shoot.
Oh,
Turns out that's like really powerful.
my friend. Oh, Death Troopers. The magic it just keeps going, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Because of
so
steady, they get to recover and flip their config and then move shoot with an aim.
I mean, they definitely could do that.
Like, that's
Uh,
nuts.
I definitely think that you actually lose a little bit of value with Death Troopers and Tac Strike if they don't reach range 2.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple things. Let's just kind of inform our idea of this command card, assuming that it only gave an order to Iden Versio. If this card said Iden Versio gains Tactical 1 and Steady, I still think it'd be pretty good.
Yep.
She's got Marksman, so this effectively increases her die pool, her hit total hits by +2 at the end of a given turn if she is using the repeater. It probably makes it so that she just auto crits, maybe crits twice with the sniper, and has Steady. Also really good. In addition to that, you then get 3 trooper units, of which any of them that are special forces also get to do it. It's likely that you're going to have 2 snipers, which means you can peekaboo with snipers and have aims while you do it, which is excellent. I think that this may be blasphemy to a lot of players, but I think that there is room for full scout team play with this card.
I was going to say, like, it brings full scouts up a little bit.
But they're still bad the other 5
They're
turns.
still bad.
So here's the thing. I think that, you know, are they though? Because they're there. If you punch in and destroy the thing on the turn that you are in with, you're at range 2 of the enemy. Like, all of a sudden you're kind of in lethal zone. If you're able to keep them alive, I think that and that's kind of the kicker. You can do a lot of work with them. This is the entry that I think they needed if they're gonna be good at all. I think there are one of if you're doing that, but they're notably the cheapest special forces option that does a lot of damage that is presently available. This card is also very good with IRG in like the setup turn before the charge.
Yep, definitely.
So I sort of think about this card like coordinated fire. You get a bunch of free aim tokens, and you get to wreck your opponent, and they don't get to really do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of takes like at least with Iden specifically, it takes the drawback of like an Alpha Strike Infiltrate, which is exposing yourself, and just kind of removes it because you can do a peekaboo Alpha Strike Infiltrate. And of course, you don't have to use it as a peekaboo, but and you know that we throw that term around a lot. But for those unfamiliar with how snowtroopers do it, you know, that's move, shoot, and then move back behind cover.
I'm sorry, you weren't using the most relevant peekaboo unit, which is Tauntauns.
Well, yeah, okay, obviously.
Hey man, how about Vader?
The term originated with snowtroopers, and yeah, also with Vader.
Saber throw Vader's like I called him like the granddaddy snowtrooper. Because like that's all he does. He's a giant snow. He just like moves, throws a saber, and hides again.
Yeah, he's not very good against cover though.
No, really not. Unlike scouts, full scouts have sharpshooter.
They do.
So that is. I think that does help them quite a bit.
Yeah,
even if they have to slow down. But
I mean, 10 black dice with sharpshooter 1, pierce, and 2 aim tokens.
You're gonna kill something.
Yeah,
you are. Just, the prospect of keeping them safe after you do that is, I think, easier said than done.
Yeah, it's a little bit daunting.
I mean, I think that there's a world where you take a list like Iden, a scout strike, a full scout unit, and then IRG, and then you tack strike them, and the IRG kind of protect them until the scouts are ready to do their thing. Is it good? I don't know. I think it definitely has the opportunity to be good though.
I really think that Death Troopers are just stellar with this card.
Yeah, I think you're doing like, either you're running her with Krennic and you're doing triple sniper Death Trooper, or you're running her by herself or with something else and you're doing double sniper Death Trooper.
I mean, imagine us in a world where you have an injured hero and you have a Hunter DT with this card in your hand. Oh my lord! So you have double move Hunter for a triple aimed pistol shot from your DTs. Like, that's gonna kill some people. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I mean it's very good. This card is excellent.
Yeah, no question.
We're gonna start at the top and work down.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the next one?
Yeah. Concussive blast.
Oh no.
No? What are you going to talk about?
You stop it. We're starting at the top and working down. Incapacity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
This thing.
This one requires Dio to be attached to Iden, which I think is very close to always.
The Emperor looks much smaller in this photo.
So maybe let's take a step back. That's fair. Take a step back and talk about Dio generally. 15 points is attached to the Iden Versio unit, effectively gives Iden an extra health and gives her shielded. So it effectively gives her like 2 health because there's a card that allows you to recover in there. It also gives you access to this command card. You're essentially paying 15 points for a couple extra health in this command card.
Okay, so Iden really is, in some sense, Imperial Sabine because of this shielding thing. It's kind of similar.
Yeah, if you want her to be, for sure.
Yeah, I think you do want her to be.
So Incapacitate just gives orders to Iden Versio. And it says, during Iden Versio's activation, you may choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight of Iden's Dio Seeker droid. That unit gains 3 suppression tokens. Then, if it's a core unit that has not activated, assign it a face down order token from its ordered pool and flip its order token face down. So
it's good. It's real good.
Yeah.
So we talked last week with K2's command card about how it's like a very game-breaking effect. I feel the same way about this one. I feel like both of their effects are dramatically unique in that they do things that are insanely powerful that we haven't seen before.
But also the other one, situational.
They're super situated. I think this one's a lot less situational.
For sure. It's situational in that, like Serve, the range is short. It's range 1. Yeah. Although it's a little bit farther than it seems like because it's at range 1 of Dio, so you can cohere him forward and then use this.
Yes, it's like range 1 plus 4 inches.
Right. But still, that's reasonably short.
Yeah, you have to start the turn within range 2 of the enemy because you can't. It's 10 inches, right? With this from the range 1 plus the cohesion of the Seeker droid, so Iden has to be within range 2. To get to range 1 with Dio?
I think you've got a little bit more than that. If you've got
I think you have a little bit less than that, actually.
No, so speed 2 move is roughly 6 inches. Plus the 6 inches.
So it's during the activation. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, you can do it at any point.
Wow, that's mean.
It's really good. You can move, shoot one unit, and just essentially tell the other unit it doesn't get to go this turn. It's I don't know what to say about it other than that when I think it's gonna feel really dirty.
Yeah, well, jokes on you. I brought 3 naked troopers.
On that guy. Yeah. I mean, like, if you do this to a full unit of Shores or a Clone Trooper squad or, a B2 squad, like, it's just...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally just incapacitate something very valuable. I think this is the first card that legit says you skip your turn with that unit.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, Yeah, do not pass
Full-
go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah, just full blown.
Take that order token, flip face down.
Yep.
It's very good on turns where, Iden is contesting an objective and your opponent's like really trying to pick up that box with this one trooper unit that's over here, and you just get to say no.
Seems good on hostage on turn 2.
Yes. It does.
Yeah. Your hostage unit doesn't get to move or do anything.
Now, it's worth noting that you can sort of play around it in that you can play a higher pip command card or a lower pip command card and then try and like pull the core unit that they're clearly going to do that to out of the bag.
Yeah, that's true.
But you've lost a lot, I think, in doing that already. Suboptimally playing a 1 pip and then going with not Luke is a thing.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yeah. So very good. It's also worth noting that that unit gains 3 suppression tokens clause is also pretty good. Just generally, hitting Luke with incapacitate is not terrible.
Yeah, or like a tauntaun or something.
Yeah.
And then if you actually make an attack at range 1 and you throw in Dio's weapon in there, that's suppressive. So you're throwing 5 suppression tokens on 1 target on this turn, in theory.
Yeah. Which does a lot of work.
Yep. All right, should we do?
Oh yeah, I'm not sure there's much more to say about that one.
No.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think these last two, there's not a ton to say about them. So, Concussive Blast, when it just gives an order to Iden. It's a 2 pip. When she activates, she recovers, and she gains a 5 red die blast scatter suppressive range 2 weapon for the turn. It's very Boba Fett-esque. It's good.
It's like a weaker
I don't think it's anything
flamethrower.
remarkable. What's up?
It's like a weaker flamethrower in a sense. Weaker against some targets, stronger against like heroes. It's strong though. Like it's 5 red with hit, which is not the worst ever.
Well, it's range 2, flamethrower.
Yeah, which is the worst range. Range 2.
I actually think the best part about this card is the "She Recovers" text.
Yep.
Yeah.
So A, you're clearing all your suppression. B, you are potentially refreshing offensive push, uplink, shield. Is that the list?
I think that's the list.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of
that's a lot of value
refreshables.
generally.
That's one of the things.
If you've got an uplink on Dio, and you play this card, like you get to just have an order on Iden for 5 out of 6 turns, because you have 4 cards that say Iden on them, and then you get to 6 out of 6 turns, and then you have an uplink. So I mean that's pretty valuable in and of itself. Yeah, I mean, the weapon's decent. It's an upgrade over her repeater. I'm not actually sure how much of an upgrade over her repeater it is. I actually think this card might be better if you have the sniper rifle equipped because it gives you some utility. Like, if you've got the repeater and a couple aim tokens, that's not that much better than this pool.
Yeah, although the blast, scatter, suppressive keywords are pretty significant.
That's true. The blast allows you, I guess, gives you +2. But you still got to be pretty close. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Like, if you're within range 2, you're definitely going to use this pool instead of the repeater pool. But
yeah,
I sort of feel like that's just an augment to it.
Yeah, the free recover is the best part of this. I agree.
Yeah.
So her 1 pip is very similar to Cassian's, though it's worse. Don't shake your head like that. It's worse. It doesn't have gunslinger.
It's offensively. It's offensively worse. It's defensively better.
Sure. So it's called Pulse Scan. It gives her an order. She gains Sharpshooter 2 and 1 aim token. And then at the end of her activation, she gains a dodge and a standby. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a nice little. This is a lot better with the repeater because of the Sharpshooter 2 than the sniper rifle. Playing a 1 pip to guarantee 2 hits at something, it's fine. But it's better when you're throwing 5 dice. But yeah, actually, the dodge token part of this is pretty significant. You mentioned this already earlier, but she has nimble, so that sticks around. The entire turn.
I think that's likely actually the best part about this card.
Yeah,
is it makes her exceptionally difficult to kill. Heavy cover plus a dodge token backed up by red saves is no joke.
Possibly too, because it's not like she can't use quick thinking on this turn.
Also true.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you want to talk about equipment for her real quick?
Yeah, sure. So I think that overall, you're probably looking at, Hunter versus. There's 4 training upgrades that you want to be looking at: Hunter, offensive push, Overwatch, and tenacity. I think of those ones, you're probably taking Hunter and offensive push most of the time because you want marksman. I'm not entirely convinced where the other 2 kind of slot in as to what their alternatives are as far as loadout goes. It's worth mentioning that tenacity increases her melee pool to 3 red and 3 white when she has Dio.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Yes, it is nothing to scoff at. She surges to hit, so it's 21. It's 30 of 8 before aim tokens. So it's pretty good.
Float like a seeker droid, bite like a dewback, I guess, because that's the same pool as a dewback. The 3 red and 3 white.
Yep.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It is.
I was trying to. I couldn't get past the metaphor there. So I think Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but not including like dodge tokens and stuff. If you've got tenacity activated, her melee pool against pierce immune targets is basically the same as a non-tenacity Kenobi.
Yes.
Yeah. So just
it's a little bit less reliable if you don't have aim tokens because of the 3 whites. But
yeah.
Chances
are, if you're in melee, though, you get to quick thinking and melee them in the face.
What you're saying is she hits reasonably hard in melee.
Yeah, I was just using that as a comparison point.
Definitely, so, yeah. Even if it's a saber that pierce, it's still a very similar dice pool.
Yeah, it's a super similar dice pool. It's worth noting that Pulse Scan is actually pretty decent in melee if she's got all of that going. So tenacity is definitely a choice. I think it's pretty niche, but you can do some interesting things with it. She does have some other slots. So she clearly has a gun slot. There's a name for it.
Armament, I think, is
armament.
The name.
We've already talked about that a lot. I recommend the repeater. I think it's the way to go most of the time.
Agree.
Gear slot, I think, is pretty much exclusively recon intel.
Yeah, agree.
I guess I could see a case for stims, but it's so expensive nowadays.
Does she gain tactical or aim tokens often enough? Well, no, you don't need scopes. You have marksman. What am I saying?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, you don't need scopes.
Yeah, marksman is kind of weird, I think, though, to some extent too. Like converting a blank to a hit is fine, but if you can reroll 3 dice, that's also not terrible. I don't know.
Well, it's the whole is one guaranteed facing upgrade, I guess I'll call it that. I guess the upside is lower, but the risk is lower. It's safer, right? You know what you're getting when you spend this token.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe let's not talk about this now, but a good thing to talk about at some point is when to use marksman and when not to.
Yeah,
there's definitely times to use aim tokens for their actual generic effect as opposed to...
We should do a segment on marksman math at some point.
Yeah. And to her last slot, which is a little bit hidden. It's on Dio's command card, which ends up, not her command card, unit card, which ends up being a part of her unit, is a comp slot, which I think is pretty much HQ uplink just about all the time. I'm not really sure what else you would put in there.
I mean, maybe comms jammer.
Maybe.
So you can extend the range of it a little bit with Dio, you know?
Yeah.
I can see niche cases for that, like if you're up against droids or something like that.
I guess if your opponent has like Tawns that don't have uplinks, maybe that's not terrible.
Yeah, because then you can use it defensively.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I think comms jammers against droids is like fine, but I think it's a little bit like, if you're close enough to be comms jamming droids, they should probably be dead.
Maybe.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I agree that uplink is if you're going to take something, uplink is a clear choice here.
I'm seeing in my head a Krennic uplink Iden play. Because uplink gives you access to cunning essentially at the 1 pip speed. And that could be very strong on a character like Iden.
I mean, she's the first character besides R2 that has an uplink slot.
Yeah. She's super hybrid, you know. She's good in she's like pretty good at most jobs, you know.
She's super like all aroundy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
She's considerably more expensive than Cassian, but I think for a good reason.
Oh yeah. She's much more of a how do you say it? She's a lot more muscular than he is.
Yeah, and she's an Imperial hero that actually, like, I don't know, does things. Sorry, she's an Imperial She's an Imperial commander. She's an Imperial commander that does things.
And obviously, you're excluding Palpatine and Vader from this conversation because of their cost.
They're not really commanders, though. Like, they are, but they're also not.
They're not well, I mean, I guess they're part of the military. I mean, in the same
that's
sense.
not even what I mean. I mean, like, kind of like from the sense of the game. Like, if you have Vader or Palpatine in your list, generally, they're doing very specific things. I feel like Iden generally is not. She is doing what is necessary a lot of the time, as opposed to, like, I'm getting ready for the Palp Bomb, or I'm Vader and I am going to hold out and just crush them as soon as I see them. Iden is, I'm going to be what the army needs me to be this game, which is kind of what Veers and Krennic would like to be a lot of the time.
I think I see your point, right? Like, you have very specific tactics that you're going to use when you play a Palpatine or Vader.
Yeah, like, I feel like Commander Luke is much more of a commander than, like, Palpatine or Vader is. Like, Luke gets to kind of be very versatile. He can do a lot of different things, and you get to kind of choose. With Vader and Palpatine, they're very niche, they're very narrow. You're like doing this one thing generally. Vader, both of them mostly because of their speed, you know, you don't get to, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. I think Iden allows you to have a commander in the Imperial faction that is both flexible and does the commandery things, which is really nice.
She's sort of what we've referred to in the past as like a scalpel, but she's the first Imperial commander that is a scalpel.
Yes, she's much closer to Bosk in how she plays, I think, than
Boba Fett.
Or Boba Fett,
yeah.
than like Veers or Krennic when you're factoring in, oh, she can actually kill things, you know. But while she's doing that, she also gets to do the Veers Krennic thing where she's like, here's my courage bubble, everybody come with me, you know.
Yep.
She does not need to hide behind a wall, although a lot of the times that's still the right call.
Right.
You know, just because line of sight blocking is so important. But, you know, once she gets into the thick of it, she can actually hold her own, whereas Krennic melts and Veers just doesn't do much.
Oh, speaking of her getting shot, we should mention one little nuance about the rules with healing her. as far as Dio is concerned.
Mm.
You still got to use a medic to heal Iden, because if Dio's taking a wound, he's not on the table, so there's no droid trooper to target. I think that's one question that's been floating around a lot.
So I actually think that he, technically speaking, unless I'm misunderstanding the rules, which I may be, loses the droid trooper keyword after list building.
Oh, because he's attached to Iden's unit card?
Correct. I think that you can only, like, rules as written right now, I think you can only ever medbot that unit, even when Dio is on the table.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he doesn't confer the droid trooper keyword onto Iden.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
So, and he's only got 1 health, so if you're healing Dio, he's not on the table to target anyway. But yeah, I agree for several reasons that if you want to heal Iden, you got to use a medic.
So riddle me this. Let's say you put a wound on Dio and Dio dies. Can you then medic it back if it died in the same turn?
If it's the same turn, absolutely. I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but you got to use a medic to do that, not an astromech.
Correct.
Yep.
Right. Okay. I think I get how that works because Iden's unit is a trooper.
Right.
Dio is a droid trooper. So then, I don't know. I'll have to read the treat entry because I have questions now.
It's similar to how, this doesn't come up a ton of the time because R2 has a lot more control over it. It requires not another unit to do it, but if C-3PO dies,
right.
R2 can bring him back only the same turn that he dies on.
Right. Well, then this is the issue, right? Because now we have a counterpart unit with a dual classification. We haven't had a trooper and then a droid trooper become part of the same unit before.
Well, so I believe, and I'm just going to quickly look up the counterpart rules.
Okay.
And this should not.
I'm pretty sure you could also just assign a bunch of wounds to Iden before wounding Dio.
That's totally what you want to do. Yeah.
So there is a bullet under counterpart that says the combined unit has the unit type shown on the unit card.
Oh, well, look at that.
Which is not. Then. There's a sub bullet there that says the counterpart card may have a different unit type or subtype. This is only used for the purpose of equipping upgrade cards.
Oh, okay.
So Dio is only a droid trooper when you're looking at relevant upgrade cards.
I see.
He's just a trooper. He is a trooper in a trooper unit.
Right, but what's that?
All the other times.
What is that called? Integrated antenna, I think. That is like the droid trooper only comms upgrade.
Yeah, it says
it's for those reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes it easy then. So yeah, you can heal Dio back with a medic if you want to.
Mm-hmm. It is a little weird. It's possible maybe those rules should change. I don't know. It seems sort of niche. I don't have a huge issue with it.
Well, I think the issue there is being able to heal Iden who's already very tough for 8 points. The cost of an astromech.
No.
Well, I mean, rules is written. You can't do that.
Well, right. That's my point. I think that's a good thing.
Right. If Dio could be repaired by an astromech, that would make for a very cheap health point for Iden.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that to some extent, let's imagine a world where that was true. I think that logically it would also make sense that you can only repair Dio's health with the astromech.
Yeah.
But that just gets super weird.
It gets super weird. It also starts to get super narrow if Dio's the only thing you can bring back. You can sort of set it up, but I'm not actually sure that would be good.
Yeah, it's just much cleaner.
Yeah, this is easier to grasp.
All right, you guys got any more Iden thoughts?
I don't know. Do you have any more weird loophole-y things you want to talk about?
Nope, just that one. You know me, I love weird loophole-y things.
Oh, we didn't talk about small, did we?
We did not talk about
Yeah, good call.
I guess we should.
Yeah, so you know that 2 model thing Rebels like to do? Sorry, Empire. You don't get to do it because Iden's Dio Seeker Droid does not count for cover.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, that would be extra ridiculous.
Yeah,
it'd be real good.
Tons are pretty good, so.
There are there are some uses for it that are a little bit exploity, if you want to use that word. One of them is standby still measured from a small unit, so you can
Really?
swing it around. Yeah,
Even when you okay, so it does say when determining line of sight. Don't you need line of
Well,
sight
so
for a standby?
hold up.
Okay.
Read the 2 words before when determining
Oh,
line of
when
sight.
while defending. Oh my god. Okay, that is really like exploity.
There you go.
yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. And maybe this is not intended. I don't know. But right now, you can swing Dio around a corner, and they cannot shoot Dio, but Dio can trigger standby. Iden standby.
Oh
So
wow.
that's the only like abusive use of it I can think of right now. Otherwise, it's just the straight. Dio is most of the time just like an extra model that you put on the table to remind you that he's there.
There's a couple things this does. Other than that, the first is that it extends Iden's command bubble range by 4 inches.
In one specific direction, yeah.
In one specific direction, which is
Useful.
pretty negligible, but it could come up,
Yep.
right? It increases incapacitate range. It extends the range in which you can give her aim tokens with spotter. It extends the range with which you can have a medic droid actually hit her. There's a lot of like kind of situationally advantageous stuff like that, where when you're targeting like self range from unit to unit, some things can happen. It's nothing game shattering, but it definitely allows you to if you're playing Iden Veers, you can keep Veers a little bit farther back if you want and still spotter Iden, even though she's kind of moving up on the enemy.
Yep. Definitely something that takes a little bit of practice to get the most use out of, but there's some ways to benefit from it.
So,
all right.
Small.
Yep. All right. I think that pretty much covers Iden.
I think so too.
That was like an hour about Iden and Infiltrate. But yeah, she's awesome. Hopefully her and Cassian are out. Originally, I think they said soon, Q1-ish. Obviously, we're well into almost being done with Q1. So, yeah, we'll see. But, obviously there's a lot of things going on right now, and I'm sure that it's affecting shipping delays along with everything else. So,
would you say that shipping is incapacitated?
That's, oh man! All right.
The world is incapacitated.
The world, yes.
Jeez, Dio, why do you do these things?
All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
Oh yeah. I just wanted to mention real briefly. There is an online invitational occurring on. When is it? I don't remember the day. It's the weekend, the former weekend of Adepticon, I think. But but there is an online invitational occurring. There's some folks from the Discord who were going to go to Worlds who said, "Hey, we still want to have a tournament on that day." So they've decided to host this event called the Knowledge and Defense Invitational. The top prize is an Essen Obi-Wan, being ponied up by none other than Davis Kingsley himself, one of the former champions from last year's event, and one of the world's participants from the first Worlds. So it is in no way a substitute for the event, but it is still I guess kind of a tribute to the camaraderie that was felt surrounding the event, and people wanted to just have a tournament anyway. And I think the biggest and most interesting point about this event is that they're sort of trialing an online only format. What happens, no one knows, because this has never been tried before. To have an online tournament where you have a sequence of games going, straight on in a row. Normally, online events or leagues where you schedule one game and then a game is played, and then you wait till everybody else plays their game, and then you move on into the next round. But this time you're going to have games back to back, and so it'll be kind of like a normal day of Legion, except it's all online. So it's going to be a lot of time sitting in front of a computer, is what I know. But we'll see what happens with this. Yeah, so keep your eyes peeled. If you're not on the Legion Discord, just go ahead and join. I don't have an invite link handy, but I'm pretty sure you could find one through the Fifth Trooper website. And if you're interested in that, just come check it out. There'll be some things about it in the coming weeks. I don't know if we'll talk about it again on Scoundrels, but you can find out a bunch of information through the Legion Discord about that event that's coming up. So I want to get that little mention. I don't know what my role is yet. I don't know if I'm going to be playing or streaming or what, but it's happening. I just wanted to get that out there.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, stay safe. Get some painting done. Play some Legion with less than 10 people.
Yes.
And
wash your hands.
Wash your hands, please, and don't cough on things or lick doorknobs. All right. We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
I'm David.
And we will see you next week.
Join us next week for another episode of the Notorious Scoundrels.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.